Patrick, know what I'm going to say. We're coming up. I say, behave yourselves. That's for you, Chris. Behave yourself. I know Veirdre will, and I know Patrick very, very well behaved. Okay, let me get my Zoom screen up here, and here we go. And we should be appearing any second now on
You're
LinkedIn.
coming up to showtime.
Okay, thank you. Everybody
You
listen
ready
to
for the
the
feed?
opening. Yep, we're ready. All set.
Have a great show.
Thank you.
Roundtable conversations with Voice America's longtime, new, and upcoming hosts about their inspirations, goals, and insights to help you find your own mic. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's Bonnie D.
Thank you to the unknown voice. Jordan, can I ask you to replay that opening? Because I think we missed half of it. We crossed wires on the opening, and I want my guest to hear the whole thing a little bit louder, Jordan, if you can hear me. Jordan, run it again.
Welcome to Next at the Mic Radio, a lively hour of unscripted roundtable conversations with Voice America's longtime, new, and upcoming hosts about their inspirations, goals, and insights to help you find your own mic. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's Bonnie D.
Bonnie D in the house twice. What can I tell you? I thought one of me was enough. Now we've got two. To my guests. Two of them are returning guests, Patrick Laing and Christopher Salem. But we have a new guest, the wonderful Dr. Veirdre Jackson. I'll be introducing them with one of my poetic monologues. You haven't heard anything like this before, Veirdre. But Veirdre, since you're new, whose voice do you think that was doing the introduction? Do you have any idea? Did it sound familiar at all?
I don't know, Bonnie. I don't know.
Okay, well, Chris knows. Patrick, do you remember whose voice it is?
Don't.
You don't?
I
Okay,
don't know that. I don't know that I ever knew.
good, good. That's wonderful. Okay, Chris, be quiet. Now, Chris knows that voice was AI. It was created by our wonderful GM, General Manager at Voice America, Robert Cellino. He worked on several voices. I have yet to name the voice. It was a trick question, Patrick
Hmm.
and Veirdre, but we couldn't, he sent me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 different voices, most of them male. I wanted a male introduction because when you have a female host, you have male introducer. But until the voice could say, oh, how those lips can talk, I wasn't ready to accept it. When we got that right, Patrick, then I knew it was the right voice. So let's just take a quick nomination before we talk about what we're here to talk about. Veirdre, what would you name that nameless AI voice that was so nice? What would you name him? Any
You
ideas?
know what? The first name that comes to mind is Charles.
Oh, very elegant. Patrick, don't listen to her. What would you name him?
I was thinking more like Esteban.
Oh, we're getting very
Oh,
suave here. And Mr. Salem, what would you name him?
Well, I'm going to have it just be even you're Bonnie and he's Bobby.
Bonnie and Bobby. Okay, I would name him Kelvin. I don't know why, or Kevin. He just sounds like a Kevin to me. But I think, ladies, we're going to go with Charles. So he's named Charles now. So thank you very
I
much.
like it.
This is Next at the Mic, a show where I have the privilege and the pleasure of speaking with people who, like me, are hosts on Voice America. They each have their own shows. Some of them have been on for 3 weeks. Some of them have been on for 10 years. We're going to find out who they are. But the purpose of this show is to find out why radio. We could be doing something else, couldn't we, ladies and gentlemen? So why are we on radio? What's the impact? What's the importance? What's the value? We're building community, get to use our voice. People get to hear their voices. Why? And a little bit about what the future of radio is. When people say to me, okay, Bonnie, you're live streaming. We're live. Everybody wave hello, by the way, to LinkedIn. I hear there was a glitch with Facebook, but they're back. There was an outage today. 2 channels on Facebook and YouTube. Patrick, we need you to wave hello to YouTube, especially. There you go. Good. Okay. Now, people say to me, you're doing a podcast because you're live streaming and it's like TV. I say, no, it's radio. Voice America is a radio network. This is radio. That's what I'm doing. So you all get the privilege of saying that. So let me go to my opening here and let me read my poem. And just so you know, this was co-written with ChatGPT. So here we go. Upon her scarlet mic, with passion to wow, Bonnie D welcomes 3 stars for Next at the Mic episode Use Your Words Now. Dr. Veirdre Jackson, wave hello, a purpose-driven guide, award-winning author, educator, taking life in her stride. She's leading Living Strong Consulting. Resilience is in her hands, a masterpiece of strength. Her purpose she expands. Did you like that?
I did.
I edited it. ChatGPT wrote it. I edited it. So there you go. I'm glad. Chris Salem, you've heard this one before, but I'm going to do it again. Accomplished CEO, certified workplace advisor. He's on the go and he has to leave in a half hour or now actually 24 minutes. Author of Master Your Inner Critic, Sustainable Success Radio host, Where Prosperity Blooms. Chris always gives it his most. Chris, you still like that one?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that's a New York yes. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, take me out to the game. And Patrick Laing, founder of Certainty Management's Hold, passionate about growing profits, a story to be told. With 28 years of business and finance in his stride, a leader, author, speaker with wisdom always as his guide. Patrick, did you like that? He's looking very
Yeah.
modest right now.
I think it was fantastic.
Thank you very much. These 3 stars, a constellation bright. Everybody look up at the constellation. Illuminate the airwaves right now with sheer delight. On Next at the Mic, where brilliance takes flight, a live roundtable. We hope to reach inspirational height. Veirdre, did you like it?
Very creative, Bonnie. Very creative.
Now, I have a question for you in particular because Chris and Patrick may know the answer. How long do you think it took for, not for me to input all of your bios and a little bit about me in the show, how long do you think it took for ChatGPT to give me back the core of that poem?
Well, Bonnie, I love Chat GPT, so I use it often. So I'm thinking like seconds for the actual content, but the editing part, I'm not sure, but I use Chat GPT often, so within seconds.
You know, I will tell you, there's a big debate going on with my friend Dan Geller, who's a technologist and a fractional CEO on LinkedIn. And he says, you don't have to be polite to ChatGPT. You don't have to say, please do this and thank you. I do. I hear you get better results. The answer is you don't have to, but I still do. I noticed they say it would be more efficient, Veirdre and Patrick and Chris, in the past 2 weeks of doing these openings for all of my 4 radio shows. The timing has been cut in half. I used to say 1,000, 2, 1,000. By the time I hit 3 seconds, it was there. Now it's coming in less than 2 seconds. That's how fast. I know, Patrick. I give it
Incredible.
your full 3 bios, the full bios you sent me, and a little bit at the top and the bottom about me in the show and the episode name, and it comes back that fast. And I say thank you, or I'll say, hey, could I have a little more about Patrick? A little anyway, blah, blah, blah. So thrilled to have all 3 of you. And Dr. Veirdre Jackson, you're our newest guest here today. So I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm putting you on full screen speaker view. Would you please do me the honor of giving us condense your whole life into 3 minutes? I'll give you 3 minutes. It's a loose 3 minutes. We don't have an hourglass. So please tell everybody who you are and what you do on radio. And welcome, Veirdre.
Well, hello, everyone. As it was said, I'm Dr. Veirdre Jackson. I identify as the CEO and creative of Living Strong Consulting, and I provide support with any type of organization that impacts the life of a child. And we focus on understanding resilience as well as unpacking how trauma and toxic stress change behavior, the brain, and relationships. And so diving into giving practical strategies so that we can live a full and abundant life.
How did you get into that line of work, Veirdre? We want to know a little more about your origin story, please.
So my origin story is actually I was an educator in the traditional classroom. And it might sound shocking to hear, but I was a 3rd grade educator for a few years and actually felt like I was getting them too late at 8 years old. And I often asked for the children who were experiencing the greatest amount of behavior challenges. And I stepped out of the classroom, started a nonprofit, and then they didn't call it trauma-informed approaches. But I eventually continued my education and found that if I impacted the lives of adults, it would change the lives of children.
Beautifully said. And I have to say, very rare to hear a teacher, right, Chris and Patrick? Very rare to have educator. I like that better than teacher. to hear about an educator who says, give me the children with challenges. You do not hear that. May I ask what city you were teaching in?
In Norristown, Pennsylvania.
Okay, very interesting. Well,
Mhm.
you're a very brave lady, and it sounds like you've got a message that you wanted and a strength you wanted to share with these children, and I'm sure they appreciated it, if not in the moment, then as they grew up. So thank you for sharing that. Lovely to have you. Christopher Salem, I'm counting down. You got 28 minutes left. I actually 20, how many? 18 minutes left. We're
Yes.
racing against the clock. You're going to leave me with Patrick and Veirdre. We're going to do just fine. But why don't you introduce yourself? And Chris, I ran the frequent guest-ometer before you came on today, and I found out there are 14.92738 people in the world who don't remember you from a couple weeks ago. I'm so sorry. Would you talk to those, the 0.98? I'm worried about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go
Whatever.
ahead.
Yeah. It's fine. So, I mean, for me, I've been on Voice America now for almost about 7 years with Sustainable Success. I run a consulting and coaching company called Sustainable Success Coaching and Consulting. We work with business owners and business leaders, including their businesses anywhere from $1 million to 200 million, and helping them to scale their businesses in terms of revenue and profit. We work from the inside out. The show allows me to reach a lot of people and add value through the guests that we have. It creates a lot of opportunities to meet people and help them where they are individually. And I'm also been a professional speaker for 24 years. I've been speaking at leading industry B2B, B2C conferences and corporations now for that amount of time. And for me, there's nothing better in creating more impact, adding value, and generating more leads for your business through speaking than radio.
Thank you. Very well put. Yes, very interesting. I've spoken to many guests on the show about building a community, but I think more important than that, until you build that community, it's reaching people, isn't it, Chris? It's
Correct.
saying to, and it used to be, people used to say, write a book and then you'll have more credibility and people will value your expertise and your wisdom and all that. I think having a radio show is a faster way to get that credibility and reach people, is to say, I've got a show and this is what it's called and this is what we do. And then when you invite people on, you're sharing their credibility with your audience and building audience. So thank you, Chris. And now I'm counting down 16 minutes. Say goodbye before you leave. Patrick Laing, I'm so happy to have you back. I would love for you. I'm not going to run the audience frequent guestometer because it's been a while since you've been on. So Patrick, talk to everybody in the world who's watching and listening. Actually, we have some live watchers here. I'm looking at the numbers. Please reintroduce yourself. Patrick, delighted. Go ahead.
Sure. Patrick Laing. I'm the founder and CEO of Certainty Management. We're a veteran-owned profit consulting firm or profitability firm in Henderson, Nevada. And we have associates across the country. We have clients in all 50 states, as well as a couple of abroad. That number is growing. I've spent my entire life in finance and sales, 30 years almost as a professional career. Worked for other companies for a long time, made them millions of dollars, and ultimately started my company because I couldn't find an organization that offered what I was looking for. And so I went out and built it. And we help companies to make more money and to keep more. We also use our expertise to help nonprofits raise funding. We help them raise zero cost funding. So we charge nothing for our help in that area. And we're doing some good work. We're trying to do not just do business, but do some good, not just make income, but make a difference. And I'm a father of 5, happily married. And it's about me in a nutshell. I would agree with Chris. I don't think anything creates a greater platform or a greater credibility than radio. I know we'll get into it today, but it's not just credibility, but it's instant credibility. And it's the ability to really control your message and open doors, unlike anything I even imagined when I got started. I've been a host now at Voice America for about 1.5 years. So
I will say welcome because of 1.5 years. Chris, you said how many years?
7.
Dr. Veirdre Jackson, how many years?
I'd say about 2.5.
Okay, well, I'll just give you a little background on me in case some of you know. I called Voice America when Jeff Spinard was alive, the wonderful president and CEO and one of the founders. I called him in 2011 and said, I want to start a business show. Will you help me? Nobody called me. I found his number. And bless him, he answered the phone that day. And you all may remember, if you knew him, how busy he was. And even when he had meetings, he was either late or he had to reschedule because he was doing everything with everybody, with everything, with radio and TV. He was all over the map. He was a wonderful, wonderful gentleman and very visionary and creative. He answered the call. And I said, I work for SAP. And I said, I have a background in terrestrial radio and I want to start a thought leadership, non-selling, non-marketing roundtable show for SAP. He said, keep talking. We cooked up a plan. I went back to my manager and I said to her, somebody at Voice America had contacted her and wanted sponsorship money. When she asked me, because I was the only person she had ever known who had a radio show and knew what internet radio was. This was 2011. I'd been doing it for quite a while. So I said to her, with all due respect, don't give this gentleman the money. Give me about 25% of what he wants for the sponsorship, which was going to be some banner ads and some visual GIFs on his website. And I said, give me a fraction of the money. Let me start a show for SAP. And she thought about it and she talked to her leadership team. And the people in the UK said, what? And the people in Germany said, I don't know. And the people in Canada said, what? And the people in New York said, why not? So she gave me the money and we started the show. And the first show, I had 3 guests talking about corporate mobility. Well, 2 of them were in Europe and I got the time zone mixed up. So one of them showed up. 30 seconds before live, I said to this gentleman, this is all on the phone, this way before Zoom, way before live stream. I said to him, no disrespect, I said, honey, follow my lead. We're talking mobility, just you and me for 1 hour, no ads, no stops. He said, Bonnie, honey, I'm with you. And we did it. I never went back to listen to the show. The second week, the guests all showed up. The third week, they showed up. The fourth week, the phone rings. It's my manager. She said, I have news for you. I said, what? Did you hate it? She said, I love it. Go big. I just funded you for 52 weeks. I said, but that's not even my job. It was just going to be an internal hobby. She said, you're doing radio for a year. And then people started contacting me. We want a show. We want a show. One show turned into, over the next 10 years, 48 different series for SAP. And then other companies engaged me. So it's been quite a ride. So I've been around a while. So it's been 12 years and 55 radio series and thousands of guests. But I only do roundtables now, and that's why the 3 of you are here. So thank you for listening. Once in a while, I like to reintroduce myself. So let's go to the part of the show. We still have time for Chris to do his. I've asked you each to send an opening quote from a fictional character in a movie or a TV show, or a song lyric that has nothing to do with the word radio. And you're going to explain very briefly what it has to do with what you do or who you are or why you believe in radio. So Dr. Veirdre Jackson, here is the quote. It's from the song Gratitude by Brandon Lake. I didn't know who he was, 2022. It's the 3rd single from his 2nd studio album, House of Miracles. He co-wrote it, blah, blah, blah. He told Billboard that the song came about during a trip to Australia to co-write with his friends. He was not satisfied with the production, the way it was going. So he said, I'm going to pick up an acoustic guitar. I'm going to give it an organic feel, and I'm going to record it in 1 take. And then they can do all their production stuff after that. Here's the line. Chris and Patrick, I think you're going to love this. Cause you got a lion inside of those lungs. Oh, Veirdre, tell us. Patrick can't. I can see Patrick's very excited. I can see. There, he smiled. Okay, go ahead. Veirdre, 3 minutes. Tell us, what does this mean, please?
So I picked that quote because I think not only for the show, for my life, everything that I commit myself to is recognizing and helping others remember the power that is inside of them. Oftentimes when things happen to us in life, when tragedy, toxic stress, things that make us feel like we have fallen, we can forget that we actually do have power, and it can come from our lungs, and which results in it coming through our voice. And so when I heard that line, the very first time I heard the song, it just gave me pause, because I was like, that's it. That's it. I've got power. I had to remember it. And that's absolutely what I try to do with resilience, and the skill and developmental skill of resilience for others. Remember, you've got power. You've got power in those lungs.
Thank you. And do you remember the line from the Witch of the South, I think, to Dorothy? She said, "You've had the power all along. Click your heels." That's a famous line from Wizard of Oz, 1939. But I want to remind you or tell you that I named this, I have to come up with a different title for the episode every week. I named this one, Use Your Words. And when I saw your quote, it reminded me of that. And I will tell you that my daughter has two puppies, two Labradoodles named Amos and Jake, and one is 7 and one is 5. And when they can't express themselves, she'll look at these two beautiful dogs and she'll say, "Use your words." And so I thought I would use that for the title of the show because I'm using up all the cute things to say about talking on radio. Thank you, Veirdre. That was a beautiful quote. Chris Salem. I'm going to reuse the quote you sent me last time because I thought it was wonderful, and Veirdre is going to like this one. This is from Tyronian Lannister, played by Peter Dinklage, Game of Thrones, American fantasy drama TV series 2011 to 2019. Introduced in 1996, Tyrion is a prominent point of view character, having the most viewpoint chapters in the first 5 published novels. And here is the quote: "Never forget who you are. The rest of the world will not. Wear it like armor, and it can never be used to hurt you." Chris, I love this quote every time I see it. Go ahead, take a couple minutes and tell us what this has to do with radio. Go ahead.
What it has to do with radio is that most people in the world relate to authenticity, whether if they know that consciously or not. And when you can be yourself, no matter what your flaws are, I like to call it flossum. If you want, even maybe that is even a word these days. I think if you look in the dictionary, they actually classify that as a word now, flossum. That when you can be who you are and not be afraid to, express yourself, especially over the airwaves. And I'm who I am. And I'm like that with my guests. And I detach. I can't control people. I can't control situations. I can only control my communication, my behavior, my attitude. It's happening for me, not to me. My emotions and how I respond versus react to situations and other people, and my action. I show up consistently, authentically, in a genuine way from my shared values of transparency, honesty, and integrity. And when I can do that, I always allow my guests, for some reason, are at ease. They're in alignment with their core values that are aligned in some way. And we have chemistry, we have synergy that can just make fireworks happen. And we're able to deliver quality content that connects and relates to where people are, that they feel understood, and we're able to create impact.
What a beautiful thought. Veirdre, you like that?
I do. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that.
Beautifully said, Chris. Patrick, what'd you think? Pretty cool?
Really cool.
Really cool. And I hope that you all feel the same way about being on this show with me, that you get to be yourselves, who you are. Just relax. I'm going to read the quote from Patrick Laing. Wait till you hear this one. These are really great quotes. Patrick picked a quote from, and this is the first time anybody on any of my shows has picked this movie, Patrick, and I'm happy about that. Benjamin Mee, M-E-E, played by, who else? Matt Damon. We Bought a Zoo, 2011 biographical family comedy drama film, loosely based on a memoir by Benjamin Mee. It was co-written by Cameron Crowe. Matt Damon is a widowed father who purchases a dilapidated zoo with his family, takes on the challenge of preparing it to reopen to the public. Cast is amazing. Scarlett Johansson, Thomas Hayden Church, Elle Fanning, Colin Ford, John Michael Higgins, and it made $120 million on a $50 million budget. Chris, that was some investment, right? Don't we all wish? It was based on Dartmoor Zoological Park, 33-acre zoological garden near Sparkwell, Devon in the UK. And here's the quote Patrick picked. Sometimes all you need is 20 seconds of insane courage. Just literally 20 seconds of just embarrassing bravery. And I promise you, something great will come of it. Patrick, this is a phenomenal quote. I love the other two, but this is phenomenal. This is my winner for the day. Patrick, what does this have to do with radio? Talk to us.
One of the, I think the challenges of being on radio and being prepared to speak live on radio every week is that you are coming into the unknown. You're stepping into the dark a little bit. You don't know what your guest is going to say. You don't know what mood they're going to be in. You don't know what responses they're going to give or feeling that they're going to exude. And so you're very much, I view it as stepping into the dark. And so you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared personally for things that you cannot be prepared for the unknown. And that's a weekly event as a live radio host. You talked earlier about the difference between podcasting and live radio. I think there's a marked difference between the two.
Yes.
I correct people all the time who call what we do or what I do a podcast. And because it's different, you have to come not just prepared, but you have to be flexible. You have to be quick on your feet. You have to be spontaneous. You have to be creative and engaging. And I'm a big believer. You have to listen, because I think you're oftentimes not only if you ask good questions, obviously it's going to guide the conversation, but also thoughts come to you and insights and impressions. And I think I'm helped every time I do my show by a higher power to help me get through it. Right. And so it's just a weekly exercise in faith and in flexibility and in growth and spontaneity. And those things are hard for me. It's funny. I consider myself an antisocial people person, because I just as soon be in my room working by myself or on a river fly fishing all by myself than in a group or a crowd or whatever. But I really enjoy the radio experience, and I enjoy how it's making me grow and become more of who I was before I started. So.
Patrick, I don't remember anybody in this show expressing it quite that way. Thank you very much. The ability for the host to grow as a person, to grow our
100%.
social tentacles, right? To grow our social skills, to experience what it's like. First of all, we're all leaders, right? You're leading a show. You have 57 minutes. You better get something going, and you better know what you're doing or figure it out along the way. It's not easy, but it's so much fun and it's so gratifying. Don't we all feel like we just got off a stage when you're done with the show? I used to do stand-up comedy, and I knew, you either die on stage or you kill. Well, I knew when I killed, when it was a success, when I reached people. So the power of the microphone, look at me with 3 mics here. The power of the microphone, we have that power, don't we, Patrick? When you're hosting your show. Patrick, you want to say something? Go ahead.
We do. No, I'll just add to that point that I made a goal when I started this to do it for one full year, see if I liked it, to not give up, even if it was hard. And I came to find out that I actually really enjoyed it. It is making me grow. I really enjoy the interactions with the guests. But back in June, I had a similar experience to yours where the guest wasn't able to log in. They were there, but they could not get Zoom to work. And so with zero notice, I had to do a 1-hour monologue.
Yep.
And I spoke about my topic. My show is called Finding Certainty. So I spoke about how to find more certainty in your life. And I actually enjoyed it so much. I did another one at Thanksgiving about gratitude. And this year I made a goal to do a monologue the first Friday of every month. And I'm going through the alphabet. I did A is for accountability, B is for balance, C is for composure. I think next month is D is for discipline. So, but talking for an hour, an entire 60 minutes or 57 minutes by yourself without a guest is even more difficult, I think, than working with guests and doing an interview. It definitely takes me longer to prepare and be ready for it. But again, back to my quote, you have to have courage. You have to be brave.
20 seconds of insane courage. Yes.
Exactly. And you grow and you find out, well, that wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. And I actually really enjoyed it. And wow, look at how much I've grown.
There you go. That was lovely. Can everybody just give Patrick a round of applause? You deserve that, Patrick. That was lovely. Just admitting what you said, what am I going to do? I think we've all had that experience, but I want to sneak in. I don't want to cut you up, but I want to sneak in a quick statement from Chris before he has to go. This is one of his 3 statements, and then we'll get to one from Veirdre and one from Patrick, and maybe 2. So Chris says, content. You need content that speaks to your audience. This is about the impact of radio. Contact that speaks to your audience. Challenges and the results they seek are usually the ones that have the best engagement. Make sure your radio show content speaks to challenges that could be better and to the results your audience seeks and they don't currently have right now. I think I got that inside out a little bit. Chris, can you give us 2 minutes and talk about how do you know the content that's going to resonate with your audience? How
Well,
do you
it's
do that?
just it's like this with anything. I don't care if you're in sales, radio, when I speak, it's all subconscious. It's neuroscience. We all have challenges on different levels, individually, in our businesses, our careers, whatever that may be. Personal, it could be your well-being, it could be your relationships, whatever. When we can now speak to those challenges, that could be better. When you're speaking to someone, you could be sharing that by not telling them, but sharing. You might use a story, you might use a case study, an example. And now people are on the offense. They feel related to it, understood. They feel like that at some level you understand them. You're not trying to tell them what to do or trying to sell them something or convince them or persuade them. You're simply sharing. You might even ask a question on the radio, even though the audience can't really answer back, but nonetheless, you get them to think. Now, when they start to think what their challenge is, that it could be better. And this show is helping me to do that. Now, the guest and the host are now sharing some insights of what the possible results could be that I don't have right now. Well, I'm interested. I'm interested. I'm either interested in a follow-up show on that. I'm interested in getting in touch with the guest to see maybe how the guest can help me. So you create a win-win solution that can actually help that person do something. It creates an aha moment. And I do this as a professional speaker all the time. And this is why I'm able to generate a lot of business from it, because I'm able to tap into those challenges that people have that could be better in the results they seek they don't have. And you're being yourself. It's just you do it from a place of authenticity, from a high level of character, from your operating from your shared values. People relate to that. They feel understood, and they're more likely to be psychologically safe now to open up and disclose more, whether if you have that guest on the air live, if they come on, or if they're interacting with you, if it were, in the audience when I'm doing this on the stage. It's just an incredible experience.
The initials that express that from the audience point of view is WIIFM. What's in it for me? Why should I listen to his show? What am I going to gain out of it? Is it worth more than 3 minutes? The industry standard, I think, to give a tick mark on somebody who listened is, it used to be 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Somebody tunes in for 2 minutes. You've got a listener. They could go away. They could leave it on, leave the room, go shopping, leave it on. It doesn't matter. Those 2 minutes are, you got a listener. But it's absolutely, what's in it for me? Why should I listen in the first place? Am I getting anything out of it? What is it doing for me? What can I take away from it? Chris, you nailed it all. Chris, you have to go. You ready?
Yes, I got to head off to my son's high school basketball game, and they're in the playoffs.
Wonderful. Congratulations on the playoffs. What's your son's name?
CJ.
CJ. Give CJ our best from Dr. Veirdre Jackson, from Patrick Laing, from Bonnie D. And tell him, what's the name of the team?
Bobcats.
Go Bobcats. Everybody, 1, 2, 3, say, go Bobcats.
Go Bobcats.
Go Bobcats. There we go. There we got. Yeah, it's a little straggling, but we go Bobcats. Chris, thank you for joining. I appreciate
Thank you. Good to see everybody. Thank you.
Wonderful to see you at the last minute. Thank you, dear. We'll talk to you again. Bye.
Good dad move.
Good.
Yes, thank you. I actually run a nonprofit called Empowered Fathers in Action. So, Patrick, you're spot on.
There you go. There you go. Chris, safe trip where you're going. And thank you so much for stopping in. I appreciate that. Never had a guest just for part of the show, but he's always so good. I thought it would be fun for the two of you to meet him. So now let's continue. Dr. Veirdre Jackson, I'm going to read your statement number 1 you sent me, and I think this is very interesting. You say, talk radio has played a significant role for me, this is Veirdre talking, in fostering community engagement by discussing local issues, hosting community leaders, and offering a platform for small businesses. You tick 3 huge boxes in that statement. Veirdre, can you expand, unpack, as they say on the news, for us, please?
Yes, well, I think it's almost echoing what has already been said. The moment that you have a platform like radio, you are elevating your presence, elevating your credibility, but oftentimes for me, whatever I'm doing is not just about me. Whatever I've gone through is not just about for me. And so I've really begun to enjoy this journey by creating space for voices who would not necessarily have access to a platform to create space through radio for their story to be shared, for an opportunity for within our local community, for there to be a really intentional space that actually talks about healing, that's relevant to what's going on within our communities, as well as creating an opportunity for someone who, and this has happened often, who would have never thought of themselves as being able to be on a radio show, and you coming alongside of them, helping them feel safe, helping them feel actually valued. And remember that line, like, you have power in your voice. And it is such a gratifying and empowering moment when it's over and they look over and they say, I did it. Like, you did. You did. And so whatever I do, I always look for opportunities to do something that's bigger than just myself. And I found that in radio.
I have a question for you. This is a difficult question. I've never
Okay.
asked this of anybody, but you mentioned community leaders and activists. You're going to get political POVs on your show, I'm sure. How do you handle that? How do you handle? I'm not getting into politics with you, and Patrick, I welcome your comments after Veirdre answers. But how do you handle that? Because live radio is live radio, and we all know the difference. I meet a lot of people in business who have podcasts, and I say, "Do you do it live?" "Oh no, we record it, and then we scrub the heck out of it, and we edit it, and then when we're ready, we announce it on Facebook and LinkedIn, and we make a big email campaign, and we say." The next episode is available. Well, I'm live, Veirdre's live, Patrick's live, Chris is live. We're not, I wouldn't even say we don't have that luxury. We choose to go live because of the energy, the authenticity, real deal, I call it. I don't use authenticity anymore. Veirdre, how do you handle if a guest, they show up, but they've got a very, very strong point of view, POV, and you might not be that comfortable as a host, or you might not be sure your audience wants to hear that. Can I ask you what you do? How do you handle it?
So I think it goes back to even how you prepped us for our space here. I'm really clear within our process of preparation for the show, the intention of every conversation. Not that I'm trying to quiet you or for you not to be able to share your perspective. And I haven't always agreed with everyone who has been on the show, but I've made it clear in preparation for the show what the objective is and what it is not. And so I've always found that when you provide clear expectations for individuals who are partnering or collaborating with you, it provides for even the uncomfortable moments for you to be able to navigate it with respect, as well as allowing one another to stay true to their message.
Thank you. Very well put. Patrick is ready to say something. I see you. You're poised to hit that mic. Go ahead, Patrick. What do you think?
I completely agree. A lot of it comes down to preparation and making sure they understand the objective and the desire. I mean, I stay middle of the road in my show. I don't go political. There are hosts that do. That's just not my style. I'm a peacemaker. I like to build bridges, not walls. And yet, if it starts going down a rabbit hole or starts going that direction, which it does happen occasionally, we have to remember it's our show, right? I have a very accomplished colleague who's been in radio and television for years and years and years. And she says, you need to cut people off more. You need to interrupt them when you need to. She says, you let them talk too long and you're too polite and you're too nice. And I struggle with that because I try to be, but she says, you need to control your show more than you do. She coaches me a little bit on that. And it's not to be inconsiderate or anything, but it is your show. It's one of the benefits of the platform is you get to control the messaging to some degree. And at the same time, we want to give people some latitude to express their opinions and their personality and so forth. But it's our show, right? And so we can dictate. And I think it just comes down to being talented enough and articulate or in tune enough and professional enough to do it without stepping on somebody's throat or offending them in the process, right?
We just got a primer or a primer from the two of you on how to handle a guest who veers off of the philosophy or the focus of the show. I've only had to cut a microphone once. I do on my Technology Revolution, the Future of Now show. At the end of the year, I invite everybody, and that's 4 futurists a week. I invite everybody, so 4 times almost 50. That's about 200 people, and I invite them all to email me within 24 hours and take one of 9 spots. I do 6 weeks, and it's a potpourri with no prep of 3 minutes of any predictions on any. We're doing AI this year and last year, anything to do with artificial intelligence. Well, I'm very clear, no politics. Always on my shows, no politics. And I had an author who was on one of the shows. I did 3 weeks in December and 3 in January. So it was 6 weeks. So you can imagine 9. I had 54 guests in 6 weeks, and it goes very well. It's a lot of fun, but very fast. And he was getting political. And I'm looking at him. He was on camera view, Veirdre and Patrick. So I was in the background going like this. When I do this, it means, please stop. It doesn't mean roll down. It means please stop. And I had to interrupt him. I'll just say his name was Sam. I'll just make that up. It wasn't Sam. I said, we're not getting into politics. And well, this one and this party does this and this one. And he's really going at it. And I hit the mute button on his name on Zoom. I said, thank you very much, Sam. We're going to move on right now. Bob, you're sitting next to Sam. Let's get your 3 minutes of predictions on this year-end crystal ball prediction special. And it just went like that. But I had the power. It's the only time, Patrick and Veirdre, that I've ever had to do that. But I had, Patrick, your point, it was my show. And my rule was, we're not taking sides. We're not doing colors. We're not doing party this, party that, left, right, middle, up and down, in and out. We're not going to do it. And I had to mute him. But I had the power of muting. Patrick, have you ever had to do that, or you think you could?
Well, if I can interject, I haven't ever had to mute someone. They've always been very respectful, and even when it started going there, I could reel them back. But I think it's important to mention. I know there are hosts who may disagree with me, and they have their political agenda and platform and so forth. But I see radio as a really fantastic, a really powerful unifier if we use it as such. There's too much disunity and too much contention and differences. I said from the very beginning, when I first interviewed with Robert Cellino, I wanted to do a show that reminded people that we can evolve and we can work together, and that we have a lot more in common than we have that's different. It's just that the small percentage are very vocal about that 5% that we differ on, or that 10% that we differ on. They're very emotional items or topics, right? But I really wanted to create a show that unified and that it reminded people of all the things that we agree on. We agree on, we want our schools safe and our businesses to thrive, our nonprofits to be successful. We want clean drinking water. There's so many things we agree on. I think having the ability to remind people of that on not just a national, but a global scale through radio, through Voice America it's a real privilege. It's also a responsibility that we have.
I like the way you said that. And I'll tell you one thing I recently learned twice on my technology show. In terms of people working together and listening to each other, I discovered that some of my guests are creating business collaborations after they meet on my panels. And I found out 2 guests were creating a whole business project. It was for profit. They didn't tell me until a couple months later. One of them mentioned, by the way, I'm working with so-and-so. I said, well, thanks for telling me. I was so thrilled that I wanted to congratulate them. I found out last week, I did a show on the future of drones and artificial intelligence. I had 5 experts, Patrick and Veirdre. They were so high above my pay grade in terms of the technology of drones. They design them. They have apps for them. They're working on transportation and private drone use. And it was just amazing. I had to book a part 2 with the same 5 guests in April because there was just too much to talk about. But I found out that one guest who runs a drone organization has collaborated on a book he's writing with a guest on the Future of Innovation show. The 2 of them got together and they're writing a book together, and nobody told me. And I would love to be. I feel like I'm the midwife, right? I'm birthing these new partnerships just by introducing people on a panel where they all get to talk about what they know on my topic of the week. So that, Patrick and Veirdre, to me is a bonus that I am learning, I'm getting from introducing my guests by putting people together who might never meet each other. Ever, ever, ever. They might not be at a conference together, and they might not be in a symposium together, or be taking a webinar together, or walk down the street and have coffee together. They don't even live near each other. So that to me is another benefit. But your point, Patrick, of listening and people coming together for a common purpose. I think that's very, very powerful. Patrick, you want to wrap this one up because I want to read one of your statements. Patrick?
Sure. You know, my very first time on Voice America, I was a guest before I was a host, and was then invited by the host to meet with Robert Cellino and consider my own show. As Frank Hellring who invited me.
Yes, I know Frank.
And today, Frank and I, we became friends. We decided to become business partners. We started a technology company together. Now I consider him one of my closest friends and mentors. And so it's absolutely true. I'm living proof of that.
You are. How nice. Thank you. Frank was on the show a couple months ago, and I really enjoyed speaking with him. I did. Let me read one of your statements, and then I have some fun things. We've got about 8 minutes, well, 9 minutes left. Okay. So Patrick says he gave me a statement of what, how, when, and why. Veirdre, he was very organized. And the why, I'm going to read this. He says, I recommend anyone wanting to grow their business and their brand consider radio. I want to build this out a little bit, Patrick. I know we've touched on it before. It's personal, it's dynamic, it's engaging, it's valuable, it's real. You can't fake it. I love that. So just an idea for radio. And we can broaden it out to podcasts because a lot of people are just going to pick up a mic and go on Facebook and say, I have something to talk about today. We know that. But in terms of growing your brand, living your brand, expanding your brand, learning what your brand is, what you want it to be. Patrick, you take about 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm the rookie of the three today. I've only been with Voice America for about a year and a half now. I actually launched my show on my son's birthday, August 12th.
Oh.
So it's interesting because I've experienced it over the last year and a half where you have to be real. I say you can't fake it. You have to be real. And you're constantly, at least I am constantly analyzing who I am and who we are as a company and what is my messaging? What do I want it to be? You know, I like the word authentic, genuine, and real, you know, and so I'm constantly asking, am I being honest? Am I being open? Am I being authentic? And because that's who I want to be as a person and as a company, as a founder and CEO. That's who we try to be as a company. And when you have to show up, we keep saying this, but when you have to show up and be ready for the unexpected, then it forces you to get into the stride. You know, you have to hit the ground running. You cannot fake it. I mean, you don't even want silence, right? You don't want blank space. I mean,
Dead
even
air, they call it
two or
for a
three
reason.
seconds. The dead air is you.
Yep.
You are failing if you do that. In my opinion, you're falling short. And so, fortunately, it's come very naturally to me. I'm a good speaker. I enjoy it. Had some fantastic guests. Had some great mentors. Robert Cellino, I want to give him a shout out. He's been a great mentor to me, and
a good friend. He's a good friend to a lot of us too.
Wonderful. So anyway, that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Veirdre, you want to add on to that before we move on? I have some fun things I want to do with both of you, but what do you think about building a brand, Veirdre?
So I think as I have been on this journey, it's getting really clear on why I'm doing this. And when I am clear about my why, and I often ask people that I work with, not what is it that you want to do, but who do you want to be? And when I think about brands, I think about how are you staying true to who you want to be, whether it's in radio or it's in work, whatever use you are, whatever you're utilizing to create a message. And so for me, that branding is really about remembering why you're doing this. And don't be afraid, regardless of the noise and other people's opinion, to stay true to the why of who you want to be. And therefore, that guides everything I do.
Who you want to be. Patrick, I gave up on
I
the
like that.
word authentic. I do too. The word authentic, I know a lot of people use it, but I created my own version of that. It's real deal with a hyphen, real dash deal. So Veirdre Jackson, you're the real deal. Patrick Laing, you're the real deal. Christopher Salem, the real deal. I like to think I'm the real deal too. I have some fun things I want to do with both of you now. I have some March 5th music history. I want to read a couple of snippets from this. I do a lot of research with my filler notes, Veirdre. Patrick knows this. So, would you believe that today in 1977, Barbra Streisand's song, The Love Theme from A Star is Born, we know it is evergreen, hit #1 in the US. I thought that was interesting. Michael Jackson's Billie Jean hit #1 for 7 weeks in 1983. Interesting. In 2002, MTV launched The Osbournes, chronicling the domestic life. We could use other epithets for that, of heavy metal singer Ozzy Osbourne and his family. It became the most viewed series on MTV in season 1. Interesting of what I know Patrick saying, what? In 2016, visiting a music production class at NYU, Pharrell Williams, we all know who Pharrell is, was blown away by a song called Alaska, written by a senior named Maggie Rogers. He said, it's singular. Your whole story, I can hear it in the music. I don't know whether he made the song or not. Today, March 5th, is National Cheese Doodle Day. Does anybody eat cheese doodles? I don't think I ever liked them. It's National Scott Day. If you know anybody named Scott, my landscaper's named Scott. I have to call him. It's National Sportsmanship Day. Be a sportsmanship. It's Unique Names Day. Well, Veirdre, you qualify for that, my dear. It's Cinco de Marcho Day, not Cinco de Mayo. It's National Absinthe Day, if you like the aperitif. Absolutely. We have some birthdays today. Eva Mendes, the Cuban-American movie actress who starred in Too Fast, Too Furious, and she starred in Hitch with, who did she, Will Smith. Remember the dating movie Hitch and they were counseling him? She starred in that, and she was in a lot of B movies. You know what she was doing? She was selling hot dogs at the Glendale Galleria Mall while she was starring in B movies until she got her first break. And she married Ryan Gosling in 2022 after dating him for 11 years and after having 2 daughters with him. So they eventually got around to tying the knot. I thought that was interesting. Here's another birthday. Bernard Arnault. Either one of you know the name? Arnault? Well, you're going to learn. French businessman and CEO of the world's largest luxury products company, LVMH. That's Bernard Arnault. He was named the richest person in the world in 2023 with an estimated net worth, Patrick is sitting down, of $210 billion as of
Wow.
last April. He was the richest man in Europe at one time when he only had 41 billion, and he owns Picasso and Andy Warhol artwork. I thought you'd get a kick out of that. In memoriam, today was the birthday of Andy Gibb. Remember Andy Gibb from the Bee Gees, the younger brother? He was born in 1958 on this day. He passed away at 30. I Just Want to Be Your Everything. I'm not going to sing it. Love is Thicker Than Water, shadow dancing. I was a big fan. He quit school at 13 and formed a group called Melody Fair, Fayre, and he performed with the Bee Gees. I have 3 social media stars. I've got to do this fast. There's a young lady named Little Liddle Nique, Nique. She's 23. She's on Instagram. Veirdre, she only has 1.7 million followers. And on TikTok, she has 2 million. She does rap and pop lip syncs. I just wanted you to know, to Nicki Minaj and Kanye West. We have a gentleman who's 32. His name is Alex, ALX. He doesn't use the E, James. He has 8 million views on Vine. Okay. I just wanted you to all know that. And he was in a round of American Idol Hollywood, and he got sick and couldn't go. And he's a volleyball player, and he got a college scholarship. He said, "No, I want to be a comedian instead." So he didn't go to college on that. And then on TikTok, we have a young man named Johnny Huynh, Huynh. He's 21 today. He has 2.6 million followers on TikTok and 1.6 on Insta. He's a singer and songwriter who covers popular music and his own songs. I just wanted you to know. March is the Festival of the Owls and Write a Letter Appreciation Week. It is the month of celery, flour, noodles, peanuts, sauce, veggies, berries and cherries, exotic winter fruit, leeks, green onions, and caffeine awareness. And in 2014, I had these notes at the end of my show, Veirdre, the top 10 tips for women in 2014. And the first one, all right, that's 10 years ago, was aspire to be Barbie. The biatch has everything. Just wanted you to know that. Here, for both of you, let's do the closing and don't go away. Life is short. Break the rules. Aren't we all? Forgive quickly. Kiss slowly. Definitely. Love truly. Join me in an uncontrollable laugh on the count of three. Both of you. 1, 2, 3. Force yourself. And never regret anything that made you smile. Final words. Work like you don't need the money. Dance like no one's watching. When I was teaching disco, they all watched. Sing like nobody's listening. Love like you've never been hurt. We have, right? Get over it. Let your heart rejoice and re-love again. Money talks. Chocolate sings. La. And last but not least, I stole this line from another host 20 years ago. Thank you for turning me on. Oh, how those lips can talk. Thank you to Jordan, our engineer. Veirdre, don't go away. Lovely to meet you. Patrick, anytime, come back. You're wonderful. I appreciate you. And thank you again to Chris Salem for joining us. Jordan, are we out?
All clear.